During the day, it is nothing but endless sand and burning heat. But at night, the silence becomes so deep that you can hear your own heartbeat. Somewhere in that desert, there is a place where civilians are not allowed to go, a restricted military training zone. Officially, it's just a place where soldiers run night exercises and survival training, but the soldiers who have served there often say one thing: the nights there are not normal. The year was 2017. A team of 20 soldiers arrived at the base for a training rotation. For most of them, it was just another assignment, another training mission, another quiet desert night. Among them was Arjun Malhotra. Arjun was born in India, but his family moved to America when he was a child. Growing up, he always dreamed of becoming a soldier, and now he was finally here, his first real field assignment. The first night seemed completely normal. Radio checks, weapon checks, night patrol briefing. Their military vehicle slowly moved across the dark desert road. The headlights barely cut through the darkness. Sand stretched endlessly in every direction. Then suddenly, Arjun noticed something through the window. Far away in the sand, someone was standing there, perfectly still, watching. Arjun leaned forward and said quietly, "Hey, do you see that?" His teammate looked out the window, but after a few seconds he shook his head. There's nothing there. Arjun looked again. The figure was gone. Probably just a shadow, his teammate laughed. Arjun forced a small smile, but deep inside, he knew he had seen something. Around 2 a.m., the team stopped their vehicle and began a foot patrol. The desert air had turned cold. Wind moved slowly across the sand. Everything was quiet. Then suddenly, someone heard a sound. At first, it was faint, almost like the wind, but then it became clearer. Someone was crying, soft, painful sobbing, right in the middle of the desert. One soldier whispered, "That's impossible." Another said, "Maybe someone got lost out here." But Arjun felt something strange inside his chest because the sound was wrong. It sounded like someone crying, but at the same time, it sounded like laughing. The team slowly moved toward the sound, their boots pressed softly into the sand. Every step felt heavier than the last. Then their night vision goggles caught something. In the green glow of the goggles, they saw a man sitting in the sand. His back was facing them. His shoulders were shaking slowly, as if he was crying. The team leader called out, "Hey, are you okay?" No response. He tried again. "We're military. Do you need help?" For a few seconds, there was complete silence. Then, suddenly, the man began laughing, but the laugh sounded wrong, broken, unnatural, like someone who had never laughed before. Arjun's heart began beating faster. The man slowly began turning his head, first a little, then more, then more. His neck kept turning until his face was completely facing the soldiers, but his body was still facing the other direction. That was when Arjun saw it, and the cold fear spread through his entire body. The figure had no eyes, only 2 deep black holes, and between its cracked lips, a long dark tongue slowly slid out. One of the soldiers shouted, "That's not human!" Weapons were raised instantly, safety switches clicked, but then the creature suddenly dropped to the ground on all fours like an animal, and in the next second it charged toward them so fast that in night vision it looked nothing more than a blurry shadow. The first shot was fired, then another, then another. Gunfire echoed through the desert, but the creature didn't stop. Arjun only remembers one thing. He saw one of the soldiers screaming, and then everything went black. When the sun finally rose over the desert, the silence returned. Military vehicles stood abandoned in the sand. Helmets were scattered on the ground. Weapons lay half buried in the dust. But the soldiers, they were gone. Only strange drag marks led away into the distant hills. Alongside them were 4 clawed footprints that didn't belong to any known animal. But the most disturbing part happened later that night. At the base radio station, a transmission suddenly came through. Slow, broken, like something learning how to speak. "Can someone help me?" And the voice was Arjun's.
It was Arjun Malhotra, the same soldier who had disappeared during the desert patrol the night before. The transmission came through the radio just after midnight. Inside the command room, the operators froze. The voice was weak, broken, almost distorted by static, but the words were clear. "Can someone help me?" Every soldier in the room looked at each other because they all recognized the voice. It was Arjun Malhotra, the same soldier who had disappeared during the desert patrol the night before. There was only one problem. Arjun's patrol team had already been declared missing. Search teams had scanned the desert all morning. Drones had flown over miles of sand. Thermal cameras found nothing. No bodies, no movement, no survivors. Only abandoned vehicles, broken helmets, and strange claw-like marks in the sand. Officially, the report said, possible ambush or unknown environmental threat. But nobody believed that explanation, not after hearing that voice. A few seconds later, the radio crackled again. Static filled the room. Then the voice returned. This time, it sounded closer. "He broke us." The operator leaned forward. "What did you say? Identify yourself." The response came slowly, almost like the speaker was struggling to form the words. "He broke our bones." The room fell silent. A captain grabbed the microphone. "Arjun, listen carefully. Where are you?" For a moment, there was nothing but static. Then a sound came through the radio that made everyone uneasy. A strange cracking noise, like bones bending. Then the voice whispered, "Learning." Within minutes, a new rescue team was assembled. 10 heavily armed soldiers, night vision gear, thermal scanners, 2 armored vehicles. Their mission was simple: find the source of the signal and bring Arjun back, or whatever was left of him. The vehicles rolled into the darkness. The desert looked the same as before: endless sand, cold wind, and complete silence. But something felt different tonight. Every soldier in the convoy felt it. The desert didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like something was watching. They reached the location where the original patrol had disappeared. The headlights illuminated the abandoned vehicles. Everything was still there, exactly the way the search team had found it earlier. But now, there was something new. One of the helmets had been moved. It was now standing upright in the sand, as if someone had placed it there. One soldier whispered, "Did anyone touch this earlier?" No one answered, because everyone knew the truth. The area had been sealed since morning. No one had come here. Suddenly, the radio inside the vehicle came alive. Static screamed through the speakers. Then the voice returned. "Don't come." The captain grabbed the microphone again. "Arjun, we're here to help you." A long pause followed. Then the voice spoke again. But this time, it sounded slightly different, almost clearer. "Too late." At that moment, one of the soldiers scanning with thermal vision froze. Contact. Everyone turned. Where? Behind the rocks, 200 meters. The thermal screen showed a heat signature, a human shape, crawling slowly across the sand. The captain ordered quietly, "Move out." The team stepped out of the vehicles, weapons raised, night vision goggles glowing green in the darkness. They began moving toward the rocks. At first, it looked like a wounded man dragging himself across the desert. But the closer they got, the stranger it looked. The arms were moving wrong, too fast, too flexible. His body twisted in ways a human spine should never twist. Then, the figure suddenly stopped moving, and slowly, very slowly, it stood up. What if the soldiers whispered, "Oh my God," because they recognized the face. It was Arjun, or at least, it looked like him. His uniform was torn, his skin was pale, and his eyes were completely black. Not empty, just solid black, like ink. Arjun tilted his head slightly. Then he smiled, but the smile stretched too far, wider than a human mouth should be. Then he spoke, and his voice came out perfectly clear. "Thank you for coming." The captain stepped forward cautiously. "Arjun, what happened to you?" For a moment, the thing just stared at them. Then it answered, "I watched." The soldiers exchanged confused looks. "What did you watch?" the captain asked. Arjun's smile widened. "How you walk, how you talk, how you move." Then his neck slowly bent sideways with a soft cracking sound. "And now," he took a slow step forward, "I can do it too." Suddenly, Arjun's body dropped to the ground, on all fours, but his head stayed facing forward, still smiling. Then the bones in his arms made a loud snap. His limbs stretched longer, his back arched unnaturally. The soldiers opened fire instantly. Gunshots exploded in the desert night. But the creature didn't fall. It moved, fast, too fast. In one blur of motion, it leapt forward, and the screaming began. Back at the base, the radio suddenly came alive again. The operators heard gunfire, screams, then something else. A voice, multiple voices, all speaking at the same time. Some of them were clearly the soldiers from the rescue team, but mixed among them was something else. A deeper voice, imitating them, learning their words, learning their sounds. Then the transmission ended with one final sentence, spoken perfectly, almost proudly. "We understand humans now." The rescue team never returned. The desert swallowed them too. The next morning, when drones flew over the area, they found something strange in the sand. Dozens of footprints, human footprints, walking away from the patrol site, heading deeper into the desert. But mixed among them were other tracks, four-limbed, twisted, not human. And somewhere out there, in the endless darkness of the desert, something was still learning.
After the second team disappeared, the desert training base went into full lockdown. No soldiers were allowed outside the perimeter. All patrols were canceled. Floodlights around the base were turned on and kept running all night. Officially, the report sent to command simply said, "Multiple soldiers missing during night operations. Possible hostile threat." But the people inside the base knew the truth. Something was out there in the desert, and whatever it was, it had already learned how humans speak. 3 nights passed. Nothing happened. No strange radio transmissions, no movements on thermal cameras. The desert returned to its normal silence. Some soldiers even started joking about it. "Maybe it was just some animal," one of them said. Another laughed. "Yeah, an animal that talks on the radio. The tension slowly faded, but the fear never completely disappeared, because deep down, everyone remembered the last message. We understand humans now. On the fourth night, at 1:37 a.m., an alarm suddenly echoed through the control room. A motion sensor had been triggered. The operator checked the screen. It was one of the outer perimeter sensors, nearly 2 miles from the base. The captain frowned. Probably a coyote. But the operator shook his head. "Sir, the movement pattern is strange." The captain stepped closer. "What do you mean?" The operator zoomed in on the tracking data. The signal showed something moving across the desert, but it wasn't moving like an animal. It walked for a few steps, then suddenly dropped down and crawled. Then it stood up again, then crawled again, as if it was switching between 2 different ways of moving. They activated one of the long-range desert cameras. The screen flickered. Then a blurry image appeared. At first, it looked like a normal man walking in the distance. Slow, unsteady. The captain leaned closer. "Zoom in." The camera zoomed further. The figure became clearer. A soldier behind the captain suddenly whispered, "Sir." The captain didn't answer, because he had seen it too. The man walking toward the base was wearing a military uniform. The operator enhanced the image. The face appeared on the screen. Dirty, pale, expressionless, but recognizable. The room went silent because the face belonged to someone who had been missing for 3 days, Arjun Malhotra. A small team of guards was sent to the front gate, weapons ready, floodlights aimed directly at the approaching figure. When the figure reached the light, everyone could see him clearly. It really looked like Arjun, but something was terribly wrong. His movements were stiff, mechanical, like someone controlling a puppet. The guard shouted, "Stop right there!" The figure stopped, slowly. Then it raised its head and smiled. The captain spoke through the loudspeaker. "Arjun, can you hear me?" The figure tilted its head slightly. "Yes." The voice sounded almost normal, but there was something strange about the tone. Too calm, too controlled. "What happened to your team?" the captain asked. The figure was silent for a moment. Then it answered, "They helped us." A cold feeling spread through the guards. "Helped you do what?" The smile slowly widened. "Learn." One of the soldiers whispered, "Sir, look at his arms." The captain looked carefully. Arjun's sleeves were torn, and under the fabric, his arms looked too long. The joints bent at unnatural angles. Then something else happened. Arjun's shoulders suddenly shifted with a quiet cracking sound, as if bones were sliding inside his body. The captain's voice became sharp. "Arjun, step forward slowly." The figure took one step, then another, and with each step, its walk became smoother, more natural, more human. Then it spoke again. "You move like this." Another step. "You speak like this." Another step. "You smile like this." And the smile stretched even wider. "But we are still learning." Suddenly, the floodlights flickered, just for a second. But in that 1 second, something changed. When the lights came back on, Arjun's body was no longer standing normally. He was crouched, on all fours, his head twisted sideways, still staring directly at the guards, still smiling. The captain shouted, "Fire!" Gunshots exploded through the night. Bullets tore through the creature's body, but it didn't fall. Instead, it moved, faster than anything they had ever seen.
In one horrifying leap, it slammed into the front gate. The metal barrier bent with a loud crash. Then the creature screamed. But the sound wasn't just one voice. It was many voices, all layered together. Some were the missing soldiers. Others were unknown, all speaking at once. Inside the base, the cameras suddenly began detecting movement everywhere. Dozens of signals appeared across the perimeter, coming from the desert. The operator stared at the screen in horror, because every signal moved the same way. Walk, drop, crawl, stand again, walk. The captain whispered slowly, "That's impossible." The operator swallowed. "Sir, there are too many." "How many?" The operator zoomed out. The desert camera revealed the distant horizon, and then everyone saw them. Dark figures slowly walking out of the desert. Dozens of them, maybe more, all moving toward the base, all learning how to walk like humans. The captain's hands trembled slightly because he finally understood something terrifying. The thing they found in the desert was never just one creature. It was something else, something that copies, something that learns. And now it had learned enough. Before the base communication system failed, a final radio message was sent to command. The operator's voice was shaking. "This is Desert Training Base, requesting immediate evacuation." He paused, looking at the approaching figures. Then he whispered the last words. "There are many of them now." The transmission ended, and after that night, the desert base was officially closed, permanently.